This is Ernst Mach, a physicist from the 19th century who stumbled upon something that unsettled him for the rest of his life. He wasn't just studying motion and physics, he was obsessed with perception itself. How do we know what we see is real? How does the mind construct what we experience? But as he dug deeper into these questions, something strange started happening. Mach claimed that no matter where he went, no matter how empty the room was, he could feel something watching him. It wasn't paranoia, nor was it fear. It was an eerie certainty, as if reality itself was aware of his existence. And then, something even stranger happened. He began to doubt the very idea of self-awareness. He questioned, if I am observing the world, then what is observing me? Mach's unsettling experiences led to what is now known as Mach's principle, the idea that everything in the universe is connected and nothing exists in isolation. Even your own thoughts, your own actions may not be as private as you think, because the deeper you look, the more you realize something is watching. You've felt it before, haven't you? That uneasy sensation that someone or something is watching you. You tell yourself it's just a trick of the mind, just your imagination. But then, why does it feel so real? You're alone in your room, yet you feel the weight of unseen eyes. You turn around, nothing, just silence. But the moment you stop thinking about it, the feeling creeps back in, like a whisper just outside your awareness. It happens when you walk down an empty street, when you pause at a stoplight at night, when you step into an unfamiliar place, and suddenly you feel like you're not alone. Your skin tightens, your heart beats just a little faster. You feel the urge to look over your shoulder, to scan the environment, to confirm to yourself that no one is there. But that feeling doesn't disappear, does it? The logical part of your brain tells you it's nothing but something deeper, something primal, knows better. And here's where it gets even stranger. Science has uncovered something disturbing. Your brain is wired to feel watched. Even when you're alone, the mind constructs an invisible presence around you. It's an ancient survival mechanism, a remnant from when our ancestors lived in the wild. Being watched meant danger, predators lurking, enemies approaching. Those who ignored this feeling didn't survive long enough to pass on their genes. It's not just an instinct. It's a program running deep inside you, shaping the way you act, think, and move. Experiments show that even when there's no physical observer, the human brain still reacts as if there is. Your body tenses, your heartbeat subtly shifts, your subconscious begins to filter your actions, as if an unseen force is judging every move you make. And it's not just paranoia. It's not just some ancient survival trick playing on your mind. This is something far, far bigger than that. Because if you really start paying attention, you'll notice something unsettling. You hesitate before making a decision, as if someone else is silently evaluating you. You hold back your thoughts, your emotions, as if they are being heard. You replay moments in your head, conversations, actions, mistakes, as if you're being watched in hindsight by something greater than yourself. The worst part, this unseen presence doesn't just watch, it influences. The choices you make, the words you say, the things you do when you think no one is looking, they are never as private as you believe. And here's where things start to unravel. There's a bizarre phenomenon in physics called the observer effect, one of the strangest mysteries in quantum mechanics. It suggests that particles behave differently when they are observed. In experiments, scientists found that when they measured tiny particles, the particles changed their behavior, just because they were being watched. Now, stop for a second and think about what that means. At the most fundamental level of reality, things only exist in a certain way because they are observed. Matter itself doesn't behave normally unless it's being looked at. The implications of this are beyond disturbing, because if reality only acts the way it does when it's being watched, what's watching you? And this is where we enter the territory that most people aren't ready to accept. Philosophers and neuroscientists have long debated whether consciousness itself is a form of observation, that your mind isn't just thinking, it's being perceived. Some argue that your thoughts aren't fully your own, that what you think of as you is just an illusion, a projection of something else watching you from behind the scenes. If that's true, then every decision you've ever made, every emotion you've ever felt, every fear, every dream, every single thought that has ever crossed your mind has already been seen by something else. The idea of privacy, of a mind that is separate, untouched, and completely your own, might not exist at all. And this raises a terrifying question. If your thoughts aren't private, then who or what is listening? If your thoughts aren't private, if every action, every hesitation, every moment of doubt is observed, then who or what is listening? Most people assume that when they're alone, they are truly alone, that their mind is a sacred locked space where they can think freely, unfiltered and unseen. But what if that assumption is nothing more than an illusion? What if the very thing you consider to be you is not the source of your thoughts, but merely a reflection of something else, something watching, something listening, something that has always been present? There's a reason this question feels unsettling. It challenges the most fundamental assumption of human experience, that your thoughts belong to you, that your identity is yours alone. But history is filled with people who have claimed to feel the presence of something beyond themselves, something influencing them, whispering in the background of their mind, nudging them towards certain actions, certain thoughts, certain beliefs. Not through external voices or hallucinations, but through something far more subtle, a pressure, a knowing, a force that directs them without ever revealing itself. Throughout ancient civilizations, this presence was given many names. The Greeks spoke of daemons, unseen forces that whispered inspiration and warnings into the minds of philosophers and poets. The Romans believed in genius, an external intelligence that influenced their decisions. Indigenous shamans described spirit watchers, guiding or deceiving those who walked between the seen and the unseen. But here's where things take a darker turn. Not all who feel this presence describe it as benevolent. Some have reported the sensation of a hidden observer that is neither guiding nor helping, but simply watching, coldly, silently, indifferent to their existence, yet undeniably present. People throughout history have reported an inexplicable feeling of being watched, not just by others, but by something beyond human perception, a presence lurking in the periphery of consciousness, never fully revealing itself, yet impossible to ignore. Some have called it a guardian, others a manipulator. And then there are those who claim that this observer isn't separate from us at all, but is in fact the very thing we mistake for the self. Here's where it gets even stranger. Modern neuroscience has uncovered something unsettling. When scientists began studying how thoughts form, they expected to find a clear source, a definitive place in the brain where conscious decisions are made. But instead, they found nothing. There is no single thinker inside your head, no little person behind your eyes making choices, no single point of origin for the thing you call you. Instead, they found a network of competing processes, millions of micro-decisions happening all at once, most of them outside your awareness. By the time you become aware of a thought, your brain has already decided it for you. You don't create your thoughts, you receive them. And this is where everything starts to unravel, because if you are simply receiving thoughts, then the real question is, where are they coming from? Think about it. The sudden bursts of intuition, the intrusive thoughts that seem to come from nowhere, the way ideas just appear in your mind as if downloaded from somewhere else. If thoughts aren't truly yours, then what or who is broadcasting them into your awareness? This isn't just philosophical speculation. Scientists have discovered something they call predictive processing, the idea that your brain isn't actually perceiving the world in real time. Instead, It's generating predictions about what reality should be, filling in the gaps before you even consciously register what you're experiencing. This means that what you see, what you hear, what you think, all of it is a constructed projection, influenced by forces you can't even detect. And it gets worse, because if your brain is creating reality based on unseen influences, then how much of what you believe is truly your own? How much of your personality, your choices, your desires, how much of it was placed there, subtly shaped, without you ever realizing it? And if the mind is merely an observer, a receiver of information, rather than a creator of it, then the most chilling question remains. Who is doing the transmitting? There's a moment when you start to question things, when the feeling of being watched is no longer just an eerie suspicion, but something you can't unsee. It's in the way your thoughts seem to emerge from nowhere, the way your decisions feel pre-written before you even make them. It's in the way reality itself seems to respond to your awareness, as if something, somewhere, is observing not just your actions, but your very thoughts. And maybe, just maybe, it always has been. But there's something even more disturbing lurking beneath the surface. If you are being watched, if your thoughts aren't entirely your own, then the next question becomes, what is the purpose of this observation? For centuries, spiritual traditions, philosophers, and even scientists have wrestled with this question. Some believed that this hidden observer was a guide, a higher intelligence, a presence meant to lead you towards something greater. Others feared it was a form of control, an external force keeping you tethered to an invisible structure, watching but never intervening, silently shaping the direction of your life without you ever noticing. But then there's a third possibility, one that's far more unsettling. What if the act of watching itself is the reason you exist at all? There's a theory in quantum mechanics known as the participatory universe. It suggests that reality isn't just passively observed, it is created through observation. That means things don't exist in a definite state until something or someone looks at them. Now consider this. If observation is what gives reality structure, then what happens when you become aware of yourself? Could self-awareness itself be a byproduct of being watched? It's a question that doesn't just shift how we see reality. It shakes the very foundation of what it means to be human. Because if your consciousness is not the source of observation, but rather the result of it, then what does that make you? A participant? A projection? Or something else entirely? Think about dreams. When you're inside of one, everything feels real. You react, you feel emotions, you follow a path that seems logical until you suddenly realize, until you wake up. What if the feeling of being watched isn't just paranoia? What if it's the first crack in the illusion, a glimpse into the real structure of reality? And if that's the case, then maybe the question isn't who is watching. Maybe the real question is, what happens when you finally notice? There's a reason why most people never question this. It's easier that way. It's easier to believe that your thoughts belong to you, that your actions are your own, that no unseen force is observing, influencing, or shaping your reality. Because the alternative? That's uncomfortable. That raises too many questions, with answers that no one is ready to face. But here's the thing, you've already felt it. The split-second hesitation before you speak, as if some invisible force is filtering your words before they leave your mouth. The feeling that your choices aren't entirely your own, like something else is nudging you toward one path over another. The strange way reality itself seems to shift based on your awareness, as if the moment you focus on something, it reacts. If you've ever experienced déjà vu, you've touched this mystery before, that eerie sensation that you've been here before, that a moment is repeating itself. But why? What are you remembering? A past life? A glitch in reality? Or something more disturbing? An echo of an experience that was placed in your mind before it even happened? And then there are the moments of intuition, that feeling that something is about to happen before it does, that unexplainable certainty that leads you in a direction with no logical reason, People call it instinct. They call it coincidence. But what if it's neither? What if these moments, these glitches, these glimpses into something greater are the observer revealing itself to you, just for a moment, before fading back into the background? And what if the only reason you're even capable of noticing it is because for the first time you're actually paying attention? Because the truth is, most people don't. They move through life without questioning, without stopping to wonder why things feel scripted, why their actions feel predetermined, why their thoughts seem to follow patterns they never chose. But you're here. You're thinking about it now. And that changes everything. Because awareness is a door that only opens one way. Once you notice, you can't unnotice. Once you start seeing the patterns, they don't disappear. And once you realize that you're being watched, you have to ask yourself the question that no one is prepared to answer. What happens next? But maybe that's the real reason most people never notice. Maybe that's why the feeling of being watched is so easily dismissed, brushed aside, labeled as paranoia or imagination. Because noticing it, truly noticing it, changes something. It shifts something inside you. It forces you to confront a reality that doesn't operate the way you once believed. Because if awareness itself is a door, then what lies on the other side? There's an old belief that the moment you become aware of something watching you, it becomes aware of you in return. Think about that for a second. What if this presence, the one that lingers in the background of your thoughts, the one that influences without revealing itself, has been waiting for you to see it? Maybe this is why so many people throughout history have spoken of an awakening. Not in the poetic, feel-good sense, but in the unsettling, earth-shattering realization that everything they thought they knew was just a surface layer of something far deeper. There are stories of monks, mystics, and seekers who, after years of meditation and isolation, suddenly felt as if they had crossed an invisible threshold. A barrier lifted, and for the first time, they sensed a presence, not outside of them, but woven into reality itself. Some described it as a guiding force, others as something completely indifferent, as if they had simply become aware of a system that had always been running in the background, a system that was never meant to be noticed. And that raises the final question, the one that no one can answer for you. If you are being watched, if your thoughts, your actions, your very awareness are being observed, then is that a test, a game, a prison, a story being told by something greater? Or is it simply the nature of reality itself? Because maybe there is no hidden purpose. Maybe there's no grand deception, no sinister force pulling the strings. Maybe the truth is even stranger than that. Maybe observation is the foundation of everything. Maybe the simple act of watching, perceiving, existing in awareness is what makes reality what it is. And if that's true, then the real mystery isn't who is watching. The real mystery is what happens when you start watching back. Noticing is just the beginning. Once you start seeing the patterns, you start questioning everything. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to go deeper, make sure to stay connected. There's always more to uncover.